The protein shake recipe notification wasn't supposed to show a photo of my wife naked in another man's bed. But there it was, glowing on our kitchen tablet while I stirred mac and cheese for my daughters, the image burning itself into my retinas like a brand. "Dad, is dinner ready?" Zoe called from the living room, her 11-year-old voice cutting through my shock. "Almost, sweetheart," I managed, my voice surprisingly steady as I stared at Katrina's selfie with some muscle-bound idiot I didn't recognize. The timestamp showed yesterday afternoon, when she'd told me she was showing houses to clients. I'm Mason Doyle, 39 years old, IT consultant, and apparently the last person in my own marriage to know it was over. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd discovered my wife's affair through the same cloud sync I'd set up to keep our family organized. "Mason, I'm home!" Katrina's voice echoed from the front door, that fake cheerful tone she'd been using lately. "Sorry I'm late. The Henderson showing ran long." Sure it did. I quickly closed the tablet and focused on the stove, my hands surprisingly steady as I drained the pasta. 15 years of marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, and this is how I find out? Through a misfiled photo meant for her workout buddy? "Daddy, Mommy's friend Marcia is here too," 8-year-old Ella announced, bouncing into the kitchen. Perfect. Marcia Chen, Katrina's real estate partner and enabler-in-chief. The woman who'd been giving me looks like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. "Hey, Mason," Katrina breezed in, all blonde highlights and designer workout clothes that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. She kissed my cheek with lips that had probably been somewhere I didn't want to think about. "How was your day?" I asked, testing the waters. "Exhausting. 3 showings, 2 difficult clients. You know how it is." She grabbed a water bottle from the fridge, not meeting my eyes. Marcia appeared behind her, smirking. "Mason, you're looking domestic. Very housewifey with that apron." "Someone has to feed the kids," I replied, forcing a smile, since their mother was working so hard today. "Oh, Katrina was definitely working hard," Marcia said with a little laugh that made my skin crawl. "That Henderson property is really demanding. I'll bet it was." "Girls, dinner!" I called, ladling mac and cheese into bowls. Normal family dinner, normal Tuesday night, normal life built on lies I was just now seeing clearly. As we ate, I watched Katrina scroll through her phone, barely acknowledging our daughter's chatter about school. When had she become this person? When had I become the fool who didn't notice? "Mommy, can you help me with my science project tomorrow?" Zoe asked. "I have showings all day, honey. Ask Daddy." Katrina didn't even look up from her screen. "What about Thursday?" Zoe pressed. "Busy then, too. Mason handles that stuff better anyway." Right. Mason handles everything while Katrina handles her trainer. The pieces were falling into place now, all those late nights, weekend open houses, and sudden interest in fitness. After dinner, I helped the girls with homework, while Katrina disappeared upstairs for a work call that involved a lot of giggling. Marcia had left with a knowing smile and a comment about girls' night this weekend. When I finally made it to our bedroom, Katrina was already in bed, phone glued to her ear. "I have to go," she whispered into the device, then looked at me with barely concealed irritation. "You're up late." "Had to finish Ella's math homework. You know, parenting." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Mason. Just because I'm building a career doesn't make me a bad mother. Building a career. Is that what we're calling it?" I climbed into bed, my mind racing. Tomorrow I'd have to figure out what to do with this information. Tonight, I lay next to my wife of 15 years, listening to her text someone at midnight, and planned my next move. The marriage might be over, but the game was just beginning. I waited 3 days to confront her, using the time to do what I do best, gather information. A few discreet searches revealed that Trent Maddox, 25-year-old personal trainer at Elite Fitness, had been tagged in several of Katrina's recent social media posts. Amazing how invisible a husband becomes when you're living a double life. Thursday evening, after the girls were asleep, I poured 2 glasses of wine and found Katrina in our home office, supposedly working on listings. "We need to talk," I said, setting her glass down. She glanced up from her laptop, annoyed. I'm busy, Mason. Can it wait? No, it really can't. I sat across from her, my heart hammering but my voice calm. I saw the photo, Katrina. The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. What photo? The one of you and Trent in bed. It synced to the kitchen tablet Tuesday night. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then her expression hardened. You went through my phone? I didn't have to. You sent it to the wrong folder. I took a sip of wine, surprised by how steady my hands were. So, how long has this been going on? Mason, She stopped, seeming to make a decision. Look, things between us haven't been good for a long time. That's your justification? Things haven't been good? Don't act like you're surprised. We barely talk anymore. You're always working or with the kids. When's the last time we went on a real date? I tried to take you to dinner last week. You canceled for a client meeting. I made air quotes. Let me guess. Trent was the client? She stood up, pacing. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You're being controlling and sarcastic. Controlling? I'm being controlling because I'm upset my wife is cheating on me? We're basically roommates, Mason. We have been for years. At least Trent makes me feel alive again. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a slap. 15 years reduced to being roommates. 2 children together, a mortgage, a life built brick by brick, and she throws it away for a 25-year-old with abs. What about Zoe and Ella? They'll be fine. Kids are resilient. And honestly, they'll probably be happier with parents who aren't miserable all the time. I'm not miserable, I was content. I thought we both were. Content. She laughed bitterly. God, Mason, listen to yourself. Content. That's exactly the problem. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Nate. Beer tomorrow? You sound weird lately. Nate Rodriguez, ex-cop turned security consultant, had been my friend since college. If anyone would understand this situation, it would be him. So what now? I asked Katrina. I don't know. I need time to think. Time to think or time to figure out how to spin this? See? This is what I mean. You're already being nasty about it. Nasty? Katrina, you're cheating on me, with a guy barely older than our babysitter. How exactly should I react? Like a mature adult who understands that people grow apart sometimes. I stared at her, this woman I'd loved for half my adult life, and realized I was looking at a stranger. When had she become so cold? So calculating? Does Marcia know? Katrina's hesitation was answer enough. Of course she does. Anyone else? Should I expect pitying looks at the grocery store? It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I stood up. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. We'll figure out the logistics tomorrow. Mason, wait! But I was already walking away, my mind spinning with the implications. Custody arrangements, asset division, explaining to the girls why Mommy and Daddy wouldn't be living together anymore. As I lay in the unfamiliar guest bed, I could hear Katrina on the phone in our bedroom, our former bedroom, her voice low and urgent. Probably calling Trent, or Marcia, or whoever else was part of this conspiracy. Tomorrow I'd call Nate. Tomorrow I'd start figuring out how to rebuild my life. Tonight, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how I'd been so blind for so long. The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing that while I'd been living our life, she'd been planning her escape. Jesus Christ, Mason. I'm sorry, man. Nate set down his beer and shook his head. How are you holding up? We were sitting in Murphy's, a dive bar near his office, the kind of place where nobody cared about your problems as long as you paid your tab. I'd just finished explaining the whole sordid situation. Honestly, I'm pissed. Not just about the cheating, but about how stupid she thinks I am, like I wouldn't figure it out eventually. What's your next move? Lawyer, I guess. Start documenting everything for the custody battle. Nate nodded grimly. Smart. And Mason? Don't do anything stupid. I know you're angry, but don't give her ammunition. Too late for that advice, as it turned out. Saturday morning, I decided to take the girls to the park while Katrina was at her yoga class, which I now assumed was code for something else entirely. We were having a great time until Marcia showed up with her kids. Mason! What a surprise seeing you here. Her smile was pure poison. Hi, Marcia. Just spending time with my daughters. That's so sweet. Katrina mentioned you've been having some adjustments at home. The casual way she said it, like my marriage imploding was neighborhood gossip, made my blood boil. Did she mention why we're having adjustments? Marcia's smile faltered slightly. Well, these things happen. People grow apart. Is that what people are saying? That we grew apart? Mason, I think you should... Because from where I'm sitting, it looks more like my wife decided to screw her trainer while I was home with our kids. Several other parents turned to stare. Marcia's face went red. There's no need to be crude. Crude? Marcia, you've been helping her cover this up for months. Don't lecture me about being crude. I haven't been... Please. You think I don't know you've been her alibi? All those girls' nights and client dinners you supposedly went to together? Marcia grabbed her kids and started walking away. This conversation is over. Yeah, it is. And so is the friendship. I probably should have felt bad about making a scene in front of the kids, but I didn't. I was tired of being the understanding husband, the good guy who took the high road while everyone else played dirty. That evening, Katrina was waiting for me when we got home. We need to talk, now. Her voice was ice cold. The girls ran upstairs to play and she immediately launched into me. How dare you embarrass me in front of Marcia and half the neighborhood? Embarrass you? That's rich. What you did was completely inappropriate. Marcia called me crying. Good. She should cry. She's been lying to me for months. She was being a good friend. To you. What about being a decent human being to me? Katrina crossed her arms. This is exactly why our marriage doesn't work, Mason. You're vindictive and petty. I'm vindictive? You're cheating on me. Keep your voice down. The girls will hear. Maybe they should hear. Maybe they should know what kind of person their mother really is. Don't you dare bring them into this. You brought them into this the moment you decided to blow up our family for some gym rat. She slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed through the kitchen like a gunshot. We stared at each other, both shocked. In 15 years of marriage, we'd never been physical with each other. I want you out, she said quietly. This is my house too. Then I'll leave. The girls and I will stay at my parents' until we can figure out a permanent arrangement. Katrina, wait! But she was already heading upstairs, her heels clicking on the hardwood like bullets. An hour later, I watched my wife pack suitcases for our daughters, explaining in cheerful tones that they were going to have a sleepover at Grandma and Grandpa's house. What about Daddy? Ella asked. Daddy needs some alone time to think about things, Katrina said, not looking at me. When are we coming home? Zoe wanted to know. Soon, sweetheart. Very soon. After they left, the house felt like a tomb. I poured myself a scotch and sat in my living room, surrounded by family photos that now felt like evidence of a crime. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stop harassing Katrina and her friends, or there will be consequences. T. Trent. The boyfriend was threatening me now. I texted back, "Come say that to my face." No response. I finished my scotch and started planning. If they wanted to play hardball, I'd show them what hardball looked like. Monday morning brought a call from Jennifer Walsh, attorney at law, who informed me that she was representing Katrina in our divorce proceedings. Mr. Doyle, my client is willing to be reasonable about asset division, but she has concerns about your recent behavior. My behavior? The incident at the park on Saturday, for instance, and the threatening text messages. What threatening text messages? Mr. Doyle, I have screenshots of texts you sent to Mr. Maddox that could be construed as harassment. I thought about my "come say that to my face" response. That was after he threatened me first. We have no record of Mr. Maddox threatening you. However, we do have evidence of you creating public scenes and making threats. The game was rigged, and I was already losing. What does she want? Primary custody of the children, the house, and reasonable spousal support while she transitions to single life. Reasonable according to who? Mr. Doyle, I'd suggest you retain counsel. This conversation is over. After she hung up, I sat in my empty house and felt the walls closing in. Katrina had outmaneuvered me completely. While I was processing the betrayal, she was building a case. I called 3 lawyers that day. The first 2 were booked solid. The third, David Kim, agreed to see me that afternoon. Your wife moved fast, he said after reviewing the preliminary papers, and professionally. This Jennifer Walsh is good. So what are my options? Limited, if we're being honest. The threatening text doesn't help, and the public confrontation makes you look unstable. I am unstable. My wife is cheating on me. I understand, but the court won't see it that way. They'll see a man who can't control his temper. So she gets to destroy our family, and I get to pay for the privilege. Welcome to modern divorce law. That evening, Nate came over with Chinese takeout and a bottle of bourbon. You look like hell, he said. Feel worse. She's going to take everything, including my kids. Not if we're smart about it. You're my best friend, Mason. You think I'm going to let that bitch destroy you without a fight? For the first time in days, I smiled. What did you have in mind? Information warfare. She's not as careful as she thinks she is. Nate pulled out his laptop. Trent Maddox, personal trainer at Elite Fitness. 25 years old, lives in a studio apartment in Brookline, drives a leased BMW he can't afford. How do you know all this? I'm a security consultant. I consult about security. He grinned. Did you know he's been posting Instagram stories from your house while your kids were there? My blood ran cold. Show me. The photos were time-stamped from last weekend. Trent making breakfast in my kitchen, lounging by my pool, playing video games on my couch, all while my daughters were at their grandparents' house, supposedly. She brought him to our house. Gets better. Look at this one. A photo of Trent and Katrina in bed, my bed, with the caption, Sunday morning vibes. I'm going to kill him. No, you're not. You're going to be smarter than that. Nate closed the laptop. These photos prove she's been lying to the court about the timeline of the relationship and bringing her boyfriend around the kids. That won't play well with a judge. So what's the plan? We document everything. Every lie, every inconsistency, every time she puts her relationship ahead of those girls. And then we bury her in court. That could take months. Good things take time, Mason. But when we're done, she'll be lucky to get supervised visitation. I poured another bourbon and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. There's something else, Nate said. I did some digging on your wife's finances. Did you know she opened 3 new credit cards in the last 6 months? What? All maxed out. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, weekend trips. She's been funding her affair with debt. Our debt? Exactly. And here's the kicker. She's been telling Trent she's already divorced. I have screenshots of their text conversations where she promises to leave you as soon as the paperwork goes through. The betrayal kept getting deeper. Not only was she cheating, but she'd been planning her exit for months while pretending everything was normal. How did you get their text messages? Let's just say Trent isn't as security conscious as he should be. I didn't ask for details. Some things were better left unknown. So what now? Now we wait. Let her think she's winning while we build our case. And Mason? Yeah? This is going to get ugly before it gets better. You sure you're ready for that? I thought about my daughters, about the house I'd worked 15 years to afford, about the life Katrina was trying to steal from me. I'm ready. 3 weeks later, I was ready to make my move. Nate had been busy and the evidence we'd gathered was devastating, but I wanted more than just a legal victory. I wanted justice. The opportunity came when Katrina announced she was throwing a divorce party at Marcia's house. Apparently, celebrating the destruction of our family was now socially acceptable. "You're not seriously going to crash her party," Nate said when I told him the plan. "Not crash it. Enhance it." I'd spent the morning preparing a slideshow, a greatest hits compilation of Katrina and Trent's affair. Screenshots of their texts, photos from his Instagram, credit card statements showing expensive dinners while I was home with the kids, everything I'd been too polite to mention in court. The party was in full swing when I arrived at Marcia's house. Through the window I could see a dozen women from our neighborhood, all raising glasses to toast Katrina's new beginning. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. Marcia answered, her face going white when she saw me. "Mason, what are you doing here?" "I brought a gift for the divorce party, a little presentation I thought everyone would enjoy." "You need to leave. Now." "Actually, I think I need to stay. See, I've been doing some thinking about honesty lately. About truth. About how important it is to be authentic with your friends." I pushed past her into the living room, where the conversation died as soon as I appeared. "Ladies, don't stop the party on my account. I just wanted to share some photos from Katrina's new relationship, since we're all celebrating her honesty and courage." "Mason, get out!" Katrina stood up, her face flushed with anger and alcohol. "Oh, come on. Don't be modest. You should be proud of your new life." I pulled out my laptop and connected it to Marcia's TV. "Let me show everyone how happy you've been." The first image appeared on the screen, Trent's Instagram story from our kitchen, dated 3 weeks ago. "This is harassment," someone said. "Is it harassment to show people the truth? Because this is Katrina's boyfriend making breakfast in our house while our daughters were upstairs sleeping." Gasps around the room. Several women pulled out their phones to record. "That's not..." Katrina started. "Oh, but it is." The next slide showed their text messages, where Katrina complained about having to pretend to be married while planning weekend getaways. Here's where she calls me pathetic and clueless for not figuring out she was cheating. "Stop this," Marcia demanded. "Why? This is what we're celebrating, right? Katrina's authenticity?" The next slide showed credit card statements. "Here's where she spent $3,000 on lingerie and hotel rooms while I was paying for our daughter's school supplies." The room was silent now, except for the sound of phones recording everything. And here's my personal favorite. The final slide was a screenshot of Katrina telling Trent that she was basically already single, and that I was too stupid to be a real threat. Katrina lunged at me, trying to grab the laptop, but I stepped back. "You bastard, you have no right." "I have every right. These are my credit cards she maxed out, my house she brought her boyfriend to, my children she lied to." "This is sick," one of the women said. "Mason, you need help." "I need help? I'm not the one who destroyed a 15-year marriage for a 25-year-old trainer." "Get out!" Katrina screamed. "Get out now or I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. Call them. I'm sure they'd love to see these photos of Trent smoking weed in our backyard while the kids were home." That stopped her cold. In our state, any drug use around minors was grounds for losing custody. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I showed her the photo on my phone, Trent with a joint, our swing set visible in the background. "Want to test me?" The fight went out of her all at once. She slumped into a chair, covering her face with her hands. "Ladies, I think the party's over," I announced. "But don't worry, you'll have plenty to talk about at the next neighborhood barbecue." As I packed up my laptop, I could hear the whispered conversations starting. By tomorrow, everyone in town would know the real story. "This isn't over," Marcia said as I headed for the door. You're right. It's not. Because next week, all of this gets presented in court, along with the evidence that you've been helping Katrina hide assets and coaching her on what to tell the lawyers. Marcia went pale. I never. Bank records don't lie, Marcia. Neither do phone records. I walked out into the night air, feeling lighter than I had in months. Behind me, I could hear Katrina crying and her friends trying to console her. My phone buzzed with a text from Nate. How did it go? Better than expected. I think we just won. 2 days later, Katrina's lawyer called mine with a settlement offer. She'd take half the assets, I'd get primary custody of the girls, and she'd waive spousal support. That's a complete reversal from her original demands, David Kim told me. What changed? Let's just say she had a moment of clarity. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Katrina moved to California with Trent, who'd apparently decided that a fresh start was exactly what their relationship needed. The girls visit her for 2 weeks every summer and seem happier without the constant tension in the house. Marcia's real estate business collapsed after several clients discovered her role in the deception. Turns out people don't like working with someone who lies professionally. As for me, I kept the house, got my daughters back, and learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply telling the truth.